everybody out there, this is the man who will introduce himself in a few seconds, I hope. And he did an interview with me, and I thought it's time for a revenge and do this. Andrew Scheps has a video series called Brilliant People Ask Brilliant People or something like this, and I thought it might be a good idea to steal that idea and start with you.
I'm Keithjohnson, and I am product manager for Allen&heath SQ, Q and Z series. And yes, as Andre says, I've spoken to him before because I tend to mess around on the internet sometimes and have some great streams. We have had some good streams of Rig and Mix Rundown, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of our most viewed videos this year, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely up there, it was great. So yeah, do that kind of stuff. And I'm involved with some of the development stuff at Allen&heath and technical writing and some of the marketing bits and bobs and going out to trade shows and that kind of thing. So just lots of bits and pieces in my work.
Yeah. So is the work at Allen&heath your dream job?
It is absolutely my dream job. Yeah.
Is it when you're the little Keith, you said, yes, I want to become a product specialist?
I have. I don't know. I don't think I realised it was my dream job until. So I begged for a job there for like 2 years before I got the job. And I went in and interviewed, and I actually interviewed for the role I've got now, and also a support engineer role. Which was at the time. And I went in as support engineer and then moved into the role I'm in currently. But I think I have thought about this in the past and why do I love it so much? But I think because my mum's like a nurse, health visitor. Yeah. Person. My dad's an engineer and has worked in tech and stuff. So it's just like yeah, like get like problem solving. They're like, helping people. It's great when you can give something to somebody, for, here you go, you can do this. And then people go, cool.
Yeah,
and you're like,
try this.
And then everyone's like, yeah, great. So I think, that's why I love it.
And so is it that you had a preference for technical things when you were younger because of your dad? Or did it just come through music? Sometimes I see in the background a Telecaster. I don't know if there's something behind you right now.
Yes, where is it? There.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, the head bit there. Well, it's probably a bit of both. I think I've always liked technology, and I think what I love about sound engineering initially, because I think I've been doing sound engineering for many, many more years than I've worked at Allen&heath, is just a combination of kind of art, emotion, expression. And that kind of personable, like it's a real human thing. Yeah. And the contrast of that with something that's very technical and analytical and bringing the two of those together. So science. I've always loved science. I've always found that fascinating. So I think I love sound. I love technology, and I love kind of art and music. I'm a terrible, terrible musician though. So that's probably the other reason I ended up engineering.
Were you good in school?
No, it's absolutely terrible.
It's the same here.
But you're a great guitarist.
Yeah, some might say, maybe.
Yeah. But there's evidence online, so I've seen it.
Oh no!
So, but I think I got into the engineering side of things also partly because I went to church when I was younger. My parents took me to church. And it was like, what's going on at the back there? Like, what's that? Yeah. So I ended up getting involved with that. But even before that, I think there's a really cool picture which I don't have to hand. But it's of me when I was about 2, with like a little Fisher-Price tape recorder, toy like kids tape recorder thing. And and it had record on it, and you could record and play back. And when I was 2, it's like play back this, put the headphones on my head, and I'd sit there just going,
reminds me, I had a similar thing, but not a Fisher Prize, because when I was born, the German Democratic Republic was still very much intact. So I was born 80, so 10 years before everything. And we had also, but we had recorders, cassette recorders. And I remember I was so intrigued when recording my mom, who was shouting at me at that time. And I said, come on. And I really tickled her a little more to be angry, because I liked the recording of that so much. So, I did the same thing. It's funny.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's it's the equivalent, I guess it's the equivalent of taking a photograph as well, like recording. It's like you're capturing a moment, but it's such an evocative thing. Like, I think it's funny with photos, people pose, or the lighting's a certain way, or it's a freeze frame. With video, it's a bit more, and somewhere in between, fine. But like with audio, it's almost, because you don't see anything happening. A lot of times you don't have. Yes, you've got mics, but you don't have something in someone's face. It's quite like I've got lots of recordings that are just incidental recordings that are like
field recordings of some sort.
Lots of field recordings and stuff.
Do you still have a cassette player to play back the things you recorded back then?
I do somewhere. I think it's at my parents' at the moment. But I do remember recording over tapes. So I'd bought tapes, and then I'd like record over them when I was a kid, and my parents would be like, what have you done? It's like, I worked out you could do, if you do this, this and this, and then you can do that, and then you can record on it. It's great.
The first cut I did on tape was, I'm that old. Yes, kids, cut tape. And do you know these pictures where they show, if you know what this is for, then you're old.
Yeah. So, absolutely. Well, I've got something I did recently, which is great. I don't know if I've got it here. Random recordings in there. I went to like a day event of just music and messing around, and what we did there, where I had a great time, was making a loop in a cassette though. So instead of having a loop where you have it coming out of the cassette and doing like a big thing, it was like, okay, if you cut it to exactly this,
it's looping
length, you can make a loop, and then we can make multiple loops and multiple tapes, and then we can have multiple tape players and just stick them all together. And it's kind of that music concrete thing that I really like as well.
What do I have here? I have to mention COVID a little bit, because we actually did want to make this interview quite a long time ago. And we thought, we've got a lot of time, and COVID is going on forever, and everybody was already getting comfy in its own chair, and not comfy, but you know what I mean, getting used rather than this. And suddenly something happened. I hope in your it opened up, son. And we had gigs, and I don't know, for 3-4 months, and right now we have to rearrange our appointments, and but finally we got to a point where we met.
How many gigs did you have? Because I had like, I don't know, 5. I think you had about 50.
I was really lucky. I had a small chat with Drew Thornton via the interwebs. And just a commentary thing, to one of his videos. By the way, guys, Drew Thornton, YouTube's channel, he has 2 little series over my shoulder and a sum of 2 buses, which both are great. So one of the big advantages of COVID, every knowledgeable audio engineer found themselves doing interviews and having stuff and so on. While we're on it, Pooch&Rabold having a video series called Pooch&Rabold, and they're doing great stuff, everything audio, everything, and you can hear them mourn as everybody was mourning about the situation. So, and me as well, everybody, and I was lucky because I'm not a famous engineer. Because the bands I am working for are really small, and small bands were allowed to play because they can play very small places, and we don't have to sell out a arena to make it feasible for the band to go out. So I had a lot of small gigs with about 50 to 100-ish people, sometimes 2, sometimes even 300 in a very wide open space. So those were most of my mini gigs, but there were so many. I had in July, it was 33 or something. So I haven't seen my family for a month, and it's getting a little bit thinner right now because it's getting colder. But that was lucky for me. And you said you had 5, and you were
something like that. Yeah.
Nonetheless happy.
I was very happy. Yeah, I felt really lucky actually, because I'm not. I do engineer and have engineered for years, but obviously now I'm not engineering as much. So I like to just do a few when I can, which also means that I'm not the first person that anybody calls. So it was really nice that that I ended up with, like, there wasn't enough engineers around, and eventually they got down the list and went, well, I guess we have to.
Last page.
Yeah, do we have to? But no, it was amazing. It was so good to be out and to have noise, and it was kind of funny to just go out and go and hear the other stages as well, and go and hear like some bigger stages at some of the festivals and stuff. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's
so different when you raise the fader of the kick drum and there are real subs in the room than having something like this situation where you say, okay, I can hear it, I hear click, I hear everything, but it's not.
The first time I put my I shouldn't say this. No, I shouldn't. No, it's fine. The first time I put my hands on the fader was because I was helping Jack out. He said, "Oh, do you want to come and help me out at this festival?" And I said, "Yeah, great." And he was doing something else, and he said, "Oh, do you want to mix the next act?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, great." And then I went, and it was acoustic and vocals, and that was it. And it was on
a D-Live, I suppose.
Yeah, it was on a C1500. So I was like, I shouldn't say this, But it's, but it was on the C1500, which has less faders than my SQ5. Anyway, I know. So I went over, and I just like, okay, and then just touching the faders went, oh, wait, I haven't actually done this in a gig environment for 18 months, at least 18 months at that point. And it was just like mad. Oh, hang on. Well, I was doing this, even when I wasn't doing this, I was doing it, 10 times a year. Yeah. So, yeah, it was mad. But like you're saying about all the video content that's around, there's so much good stuff. Yeah. It's almost like this is going to be a block in time where there's so much resource around, which there wasn't before. There's all of this resource that everyone can tap into, that people can just go and watch on demand, and it's cool.
Yeah, I'm still working on some of the YouTube things Pooch&Rabold did. This is so deep. I think personally, there are about 44 or 50 episodes, all about 1 hour, and 2 guys of that caliber talking tone and talking. There's one episode called "The Kick Drum," and it's the kick drum. It's so. If I ever tried to do this in a pub and my wife is around, she does, okay. She can't do that. But it's so refreshing for me to see that.
But your ones are brilliant as well. So if anybody hasn't watched them, they should go and watch them. But your ones are brilliant because we've got, obviously through the Allen&Heath channels, we've got some for SQ. And we were also doing some of the streams and stuff. But what was brilliant about the ones that you did, and also the production value. I mean, the production value on your ones is kind of way higher than our production value. No, it's, there's so much cool stuff in there. But it was really good because it's a really good, a really fun way of looking at stuff, but also teaching people how to do things. Whereas I think we never want to tell people, like, this is how you engineer. Yeah. Whereas you're like, hey, here's a cool tip and you can do this and it sounds great because of this. And so I think a lot of the community really appreciated that. So thanks.
Thank you. Tell me about your first. I remember you told me some time ago about your first video you did for Allen&Heath and your profound. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
The first video was the SQ launch video, but I don't know. I guess the problem is I'm so nervous. I want to do a good job, and I want to say the right things and do the right stuff. But that took so long. So long, that first video.
So do you remember a time? So is it 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week?
It was probably an hour and a half of me messing up my lines and messing up what I was saying, or fluffing something and doing whatever. And massive shout out to Marcus, who had to edit it all together and make it make sense. And and it's fine. And he put it together, and I went, okay, yeah, that's okay. And then obviously you can do more and get a bit more used to it and edit stuff and whatever. But yeah, that first one was.
So was that one of the things you were hired at Allen&Heath? So do specifically videos on products?
No.
Here's a new task for you, please.
Yeah. Well, it kind of came about because we were also looking at. I think part of my role is to. I hate to say like educate, but part of my role is to basically convey the information and sit between the fact that we've got a bunch of incredibly smart people who know exactly what they're doing and are building the product, and of course they know how it works because they built it. Yeah. And also then try and convey that to try and make it easy or fun for somebody to come in and use the product. Yeah. So I kind of see that's part of it. And we were writing stuff. But actually, I think I visited Sweetwater, and I was chatting to some of the guys there as well, and they were saying, look, you just need like a video, you need a video manual basically. So then we thought, well, actually, it'd be better if we do lots of short videos that talk about one thing, that mean that because a lot of people now, obviously it's changed. It's not like somebody carries around, a manual with the thing and goes, how do I do this? People just go, oh, right, okay, how do I do this thing? Yeah,
and much quicker. So on the YouTube way, I found myself always Googling for manuals or Yahooing for manuals or whatever. And now it's just YouTube is the first source of resources. And especially if you see, that video is 2 minutes long, it's great. I check that. So, which is the new way of spreading information is short, and so
that's it. Yeah, I think it's worked out okay. I think we'd like to do even as many as possible. We'd almost like to do as many as we can. And actually, it's something that we're talking about at the moment, whether or not we could do more. But it's kind of brilliant. Again, as I say, someone like you to come in and say, hey, look, this is something fun you could do, or this is a way of doing it, and you've again got like a 2-3 minute video. Yeah, that's just useful. Just like it's helping people, and it's entertaining. I mean,
I hope so. This is I think this is coming from being the guitar player in the band and being the guy who talks to the people in the band. And having the mixer on the left side and the guitar here and the switches there, and this is all combined in the YouTube thing as well. So I never intended on being a YouTuber per se, which I'm not. If you see my the number of who's on my channel, around about 1,000 people. Yay! I'm rich.
They know it.
But what was it? I've lost the thread.
Sorry, I was going to ask you something though, which was it might come back to you. Do you find that you need to fiddle, because you do lots and lots of stuff? Yeah. So like you're saying, if you're playing guitar and you're doing a mix and you're talking to the audience, is it just because have you got too many brains?
No, it's necessity. The first of all, talking comes from talking a lot also in school, which was not very good for my grades. And in the first 4 classes, we had these written assessments. Andre has the tendency to express his opinion freely, or something like this. Saying he's a chatterbox. So, and I always did that, and maybe partly because I was trying to get accepted in class, as you do. If you're the clown in the class, you can do with the cool kids and with the beautiful kids, and you can do everything if you're a little bit funny. So maybe that's where it's coming from. Oh, we're going deep now, Keith. Wait a sec. When I was younger,
I think that's kind of right, though. I suppose. I did. My friend laughs because I do say there was a point in my life where I had braces and asthma and glasses and red hair, and I was like, so I don't. I'm kind of immune to any bullying, but also it
teaches us a lesson for real.
Yeah. So then you're quite free then because you're already the idiot.
No, you're not. That's very kind. Yeah, Keith. Quick
fire question round.
Okay, great.
I've prepared something. Okay, SM57 or MD421. If you get those on all sources.
And also, that's a good question.
You've got just one kind of microphone.
421.
421, just like George Harrison did.
Okay.
Okay, Star Wars or Star Trek? Be careful.
Star Wars.
Oh no! Bye-bye.
Sorry.
Okay.
But that's a really good question, actually, because I did start re-watching some of the ones with what's his name from Quantum Leap in them, Star Trek Generation or something. There was a newer one that was the prequel, and it was great.
I know. Bakula, Scott Bakula in Enterprise, which is called just Enterprise. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, and that was brilliant. And then you think the middle Star Wars are terrible, but
all four you're through, or four episodes. No. Oh yeah, just they killed themselves somehow. I don't know.
What?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay, next one. What's the best birthday present you've ever gotten from a partner?
Oh, that's a good question.
You can not include the new camera.
Oh, it's very true. That's very true. That's from my partner's dad. Actually, no, we just experiences. I like experiences. We went away for my birthday just for actually down the road just to have nice food. But it's my favorite part of Cornwall. So it's like we're going away, we're doing a walk because I love walking. We're having really nice food, we're having nice beers, and then we're just having a night in a place. So probably that, because it was so thoughtful. It was like, right, we're doing all of the things that you like, even though they're all simple, because I like simple things. So.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so that maybe answers my next questions already. Beach or mountains?
Well, I did live in the mountains for a while, and then I moved to the beaches.
And if you would have to
why can't
decide?
I have both? Well, I know. I did live in New Zealand for a while, so you can have both.
Yeah, and some kiwis. Okay, books or videos?
Books.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely books.
Or the YouTube channel of Allen&heath. So
the YouTube channel of Allen&heath,
Okay, so this ends the first quick fire question round.
That was great.
Yeah,
it's a really interesting question. Having the same mic on everything, because I do remember chatting to somebody who was setting up a studio and they were spending a lot of money on the acoustics and a lot of money on the desk, and then they were like, "But we're going to get SM57s. We're just going to get loads of SM57s because they work on everything."
Yeah.
And it was like, that's your
$1 million studio.
Yeah, I get the idea that, okay, it works on everything, but yeah, bonkers. But that's why, so I was actually thinking more about how difficult it would be to mix, but I suppose you just cut 3K on everything.
Maybe it's more if you ask yourself, what's working or what's best. So working SM57 works, but I think SM58 or the MD40 is also working in a live situation, but in a studio where you've got the luxury of saying, hey, we've got this nice connection of Neumann microphones over there in the next vault. And maybe that's the difference between live sound and studio recordings.
I have just got some 201s as well, which I'm quite excited to play with. But then the gig stopped because the other engineers were available. So
oh no!
It got wet and damp and cold, and yeah.
They wanted to do something. Okay. This was the quickfire questions. Let me take a look. I've got some questions from the internet because I asked.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I asked people on my YouTube channel and on Facebook, and there's who does not know. There's some Facebook groups who are Allen&Heath uses chit-chatting and stuff like that. And I asked the crowd.
They're great as well.
Yes,
it's funny because I'm a member of lots of different groups, but the Allen&Heath ones is full of like really helpful people, being nice, and you go in the other groups and people are horrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will butcher the names, I'm pretty sure, because I'm German. Germans, and please don't mention the war. Yes. All right. Roy Evans is asking, is there a SQ pack in the works? It seems the demand is there. And I might have the answer because you will probably say, I will not tell because I'm not allowed to. Otherwise, I have to go to the beaches alone.
Very true. But I can
reveal.
I mean, I can talk about it. I can't say, what there is some demand there, but I guess what the big question is there enough demand? Is there, and also what does it look like? Because somebody like, say you or I, if we've got an SQ already, then we might still see use in something like an SQ pack, but it would be for different things, and we might have IO already. In which case, what do you need out of that unit? What do you want it to do that the SQ doesn't do? Okay, so you want it rack mounted, or you want it in a smaller space.
Yeah.
But do you need loads of IO, or do you not need loads of IO, or do you just do the same? Because a lot of people would look at it and say, well, you should do the same as the Q pack, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
If it's a new user, they might want something more like the Q pack, where it's an all-in-one unit and you've got all of your IO and you've got everything else going on. If it's it's a really interesting thing. It's a really interesting part of my job, actually, because part of it is looking at and researching and looking at the competition and looking at the market and looking at the demand and looking at the applications of that stuff.
Can you do suggestions as well? No, it's not boring. No. So, can you do suggestions? Is a two-part questions? Can you do say, I think I'd like to have, and the internet says they want to, or is there more is the research part for you bigger? So, what kind of English words?
I think from what you're asking, like. One of the most difficult parts of my job is that I love the products as well, because I loved the products before, which is why I was, begging for a job there. So actually what's really difficult is that I'm in a position where you might say, oh, you've got more of a vote because I'm a user as well. But what I have to do is like try and be completely impartial and, like our community, our digital community, we use a lot for having people make suggestions and upvote suggestions and discuss things there. Yeah. But then I also have like a whole request list that's put together where I'm taking suggestions from distributors or when I'm talking to people or whatever and add everything in there. So I try to add everything in and then try and make it a bit more democratic because I think that's the only fair way to do it. But yes, it is difficult.
So how's the process? If somebody's let's say requesting something interesting, let's say, new compressors or something. For example, just out of thin air. So do you see those requests on the community page and say, hey, I think it's a good idea, and bring those to the daily meeting table of the Allen&Heath Grands Sir and Madams?
Well, again, it's fascinating being on the other side of that discussion, or being part of that discussion, because we're always working on stuff. I know that's like that's the line of we're always working on stuff, but we are always working on stuff. And it might be hardware. There's lots of firmware stuff going on. There's firmware stuff that goes with the hardware as well. So that's something that people don't necessarily see that much, which is just making things work really well. Not so much having something shiny and new or fancy or whatever. It's just like the groundwork, and there's lots and lots of layers of that before, because we do everything in house. Yeah. Before you start getting up to the kind of higher layers and implementing things. But to answer your question, we kind of all get together. So nobody's 100% in charge or completely responsible. Okay. It's not like I say, okay, yeah, we're doing this, and this. Yeah. It's like we have a discussion and we say, okay, what are we doing? What can we do? What time frame are we looking at? And then we have to work out as well, how's that going to work with
production, like costs and stuff.
Yeah, costs and test times and development times, and what happens if there's bugs, because in the early revisions of firmware there's going to be some bugs, and they have to then go back into development, and how's that going to look, and how's that going to work out. And then there's things like the apps, for example. So in your example of having compressors, you've got the development of the compressors in the first place. Yeah. Now, if it's something, again, just picking a random one, just picking a random compressor from nowhere, like, I don't know, Optronic. Let's just say Optronic. But like, if you're doing the Optronic, there's going to be months and months of development time for actually just modeling it. Yeah.
Even though a certain compressor model is available on another platform. Let's say all the FPGA stuff. I might come.
Yeah. So if it's from start to finish. Yeah. There's the part of it which is the modeling from the original unit. Yeah. So that's more of a math thing and a doing thing, and there's lots of actually a cool thing that we do is we model them like start to finish, but then there's also a lot of listening that takes place. Yes, we tend to do lots and lots of listening on all of our products, which is cool. But then from there you've got that algorithm, you've got that model, and that's the model that we've then used in different things. But that's the model in the back end. So that's the model in the DSP. That's the thing that's actually doing the virtual DSP that we've got in the FPGA. So that's cool. Like, you've got that now. It'll work. From there, you then need to connect everything to it to adjust it, and then you've got different control mechanisms. So you've got different like higher level stuff. Yeah. Which is controlling, and then of course you've got things like GUI, and then we do still want to test it on that platform, because although the FPGA and the XCVI processing is the same, then the platform and the messaging is all different. Yeah. And then from there, it's like, okay, now it lives in the unit, but now we have to add it to the app. So now we have to do another round of GUI development, design, whatever, sorting out. Yeah. And sort out the remote messages that work with it. So the messages that the app sends that then controls it, and then go back through and test it all again. So it's kind of like, you get that first bit and then you build on it. That's the foundation. And then you have to build everything else on that.
So you spiral up the development basically. So just another round and one loop higher. And so.
Yeah. So you're adding in all this other stuff, and then getting it all working together. And then there's a few other bits and pieces, but yes, that is, I think I'm pretty safe to say that Optronic will make its way into SQ. It's difficult because I can't say anything for certain, and we've even had times when something should have been in a firmware release and it's pulled, you know, the day before. It might be like, okay, this isn't going to make it in.
Yeah.
So that's the only difficulty is if I say, yeah, it's going to be in there, and then
it's off. Yeah, because you always find maybe last minute bugs or something, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it easy to extract some piece of code and leave the other the firmware intact when you for example say we found a bug that's directly related to the compressor? So would you publish a firmware without that compressor model, or would you withdraw the complete firmware version?
I think it depends. So I'm probably not the best person to ask, but I think it depends on how much interaction there is with other stuff in the firmware.
Yeah.
Another thing that I absolutely love about working at Allen&Heath is that I am the stupidest person in every room. So
you can say,
but like I can walk into a room and like I almost feel like I'm learning by osmosis because it's just like just smart people everywhere. So but I think the way that would work is dependent on what it exactly is. Depends how low a level it is.
Yeah.
So an example I could give you is the DX32 support, which was supposed to be in SQ 1.2, and then it was supposed to be in 1.3, and then I think it went in finally in 1.4. Mm-hmm. But that was because part of that was to do with test time and the fact that we wanted to get it out and we hadn't managed to test it in as many situations as we wanted to. So we weren't confident, but we also didn't want that to hold up the release any longer because we kind of gauged it and said, well, there's not huge numbers of people who have a DX32 that they're running with an SQ, whereas we've got thousands and thousands of people who want to do this with their SQ. So it's like, okay. So it's weighing up those things and trying to make as many people as possible happy as possible.
Yeah. So and in this time, always a mixing desk has to be like a parachute. It has to work. So
yes.
I think that this is if the ground is hard and if you're in a show and say, I bring my own desk, I like it, and okay, bring your own desk, and suddenly it stops working in the middle of the show. It's I don't know how much it costs to pay 2,000 people paying 80 euros to get in the show, and everybody's really disappointed because you brought your own desk. One of the things Pooch pointed out, because he would. Was it Pooch? No, it wasn't Pooch. Somebody else. He said, I have my own desk, but I would never bring it to a gig because all these high-profile gigs, they rent stuff, and if something is broken, they can say, hey, see, you brought me a broken piece of stuff.
Yeah. So that's very true. And it's like I think, something. So every single desk that we send out is tested as well. But I think what's
do you pour cola or beer into the fader banks? So how rigid is the testing done?
There's a video which I don't think will ever see the light of day, but makes me laugh, and I don't even know where it is or where the copy of it is. But when we were testing SQ initially, we did things. We did do soft drinks. We did do Coca-Cola. Okay. And I don't know if it was Coke or Pepsi or what, but we did that kind of a drink. We did. I think we did do beer. We did do water. We did like sand and silica sand and stuff like that, and all the faders. But the funniest thing was that one of the mechanical designers who actually did all the Q stuff.
Yeah,
he's an ex-tank commander. And he's got an armored personnel carrier. So we were like, so we had an SQ that was it was truly beaten up, like the one that we had used for all the testing, pouring stuff in. It was already, we'd taken it kind of as far as it would go.
Yeah,
it was still working, just not brilliantly, as you might imagine, after being filled with sand and Coca-Cola and thrown downstairs and kicked around and all sorts.
Downstairs kicking, yeah. Really?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, we throw stuff around in the boxes as well because we want to make sure that it's,
arriving.
So all of that kind of stuff had happened to it. And then we were like, well, what's going to kill it? How are we going to actually properly kill it? He's like, oh, I've got a tank. It's not a tank. It's an APC.
I know, yeah.
We're like, okay, let's. So we're like, right, okay, well, let's. That'd be funny. Let's run it over.
Do you have video evidence of that?
Somewhere, I don't know where. I don't know if it exists anymore. But
pure gold.
I know, but it was so. What was so funny about it was that they got the project manager to. I don't know if he drove. I think he was just up. He was in the APC anyway, and we were like, look, we can't. This would be funny. It's only around the corner, but we can't. We don't want to make a big fuss about it, so we'll just do it really quickly. We'll get the footage, and then if we can do something with it, it'll be funny. Great.
Yeah.
And the whole company was like, "What's going on outside?" And just pretty much the whole company came out
at the window.
Yeah, everyone's going, "What? What's going on?"
Yeah.
So it was only like a 5-minute thing of, can we use this for something? And we realized like, what does that say? I mean, we can't really use that for marketing, although it's hilarious. It's not unfortunately, SQs are not tank proof. Like, I don't know.
I'm super disappointed by that. Oh man, I was really hoping to have the British Royal Army having new bridges, new pioneers building bridges with just linked SQs over the water.
I reckon I could probably drive a car over it, but yeah, no. An armored personnel carrier. I'm afraid that's it. Don't do that.
Yeah, kids, try this at home, please. If you want a new desk.